Good evening and welcome to SAFC Fancast. My name is Harry. Royce may be joining us in a few minutes here. But there was some breaking news this afternoon, so we wanted to hop on, touch base, and then there was some other news with the SAFC Pro Academy, some SAFC alumni news with Big Sam making the move to Austria. And then there was a couple of moves in regards to other USL teams making some signings this past week here. So brought on Jonathan. How are you doing, Jonathan? The streak is over. Man City got a W. Kevin looked better, or Kevin looked great, but Kevin always looks great. Your thoughts, my friend?
Yeah, I mean, first of all, I'm going to laugh if SAFC does another big signing, tomorrow, or, well, I guess tomorrow's the last day of the week, but yeah, Cisnea going to be announced tomorrow morning. Wouldn't be surprised.
Show tomorrow night.
Have fun with that one. But no, I mean, doing all right. Like you alluded to, City finally broke the winless streak. So 3-0 win over Forest. I mean, it's not okay. Crisis is over. It's not a run or anything, but we did stop the bleeding finally. So
they looked good, though. I think that was the biggest thing to me is they looked better. I won't say they're back all the way. Newcastle, the team that I follow and root for, had a pretty thrilling 3-3 draw with Liverpool that went both ways. And, of course, Liverpool got the benefit of a no-call PK that should have been called. But for Newcastle, especially after they're showing the game before, pretty good. We'll see if they can step it up this weekend, because that's the problem with Newcastle. They're not consistent. And we'll see if Man City has turned it on. Royce's Everton looks strong. So, like I said here, looking all right for a brief English Premier side here. So, just to kind of get started for it here, and I don't know if you can see it here, but the USL Academy Finals kicked off first day. They labeled tightly contested match, penalty shootouts, and goalkeeper heroics. Unfortunately, for SanAntonio FC, they lost to the Utah Red Wolves in the quarterfinals, 3-0 over there. Out at IMG. Like I said here, losing to Utah is a solid team. For that here, obviously you would like to see them get the victory. But they are out of the actual playoffs. I'm sure they'll play a couple more games just because that's what they'll do, in this type of setting. But as far as for games that matter, the Miami FC will play AC Connecticut, Richmond Kickers against Utah Red Wolves. And then those two will face off. And then Real Colorado and Lancaster FC, Indy 11, and Charlotte Independence are on the other side of the bracket. One thing I'll give credit to USL on, especially with the academy leagues, is if you're in the USL pyramid and you have academy, you can play for that here. So that's why you see kind of a mix between League Two all the way up to USL Championship teams for that here. So like I said here, it's a great thing there. And like I said here, for SAFC Academy kids, like I said here, you done as proud. I know you won the U12s won a tournament over in Houston. I think it was Copa Hernandez, I believe is what it was, this past weekend. So for that here, Jonathan, we haven't put you on the academy beat for that here, but any thoughts on SAFC Pro Academy? Number one, making it to the league finals, which is an accomplishment. But any thoughts on that?
yeah, I mean, just with the sheer amount of teams and the fact that we don't see sort of nearly as much talked about the academy teams. I'll admit I haven't really, don't necessarily know how they do historically, or any of the players to watch or anything like that. But always good when you can get into sort of the finals, the latter stages of any tournament, any competition. Bummer when it ends, obviously, but even when you get to the senior level, there's only going to be one winner. Only one team is going to come away saying, "Hey, I mean, we could have maybe learned a few things, but we're the champions. No one was able to beat us." All that stuff. So it just kind of prepares you for what you're going to face there. And at this stage, it's not even as much about results as much as just getting the experience. Iron sharpening iron. These younger players getting the opportunity to test themselves against their peers, and I'm sure they'll take the lessons they got going forward. Congratulations to the team, of course, that won Copa Rayados. I I think you'd messed up the name, and I think Rafa would probably be proud, as I believe as a Club America supporter. I want to say. So, but yeah.
When it comes to Spanish, it's not my first language, and I only have one language, and even then, it would probably be second or third or fourth when it comes to that.
Yeah.
My son gets Barilla tacos, or I say it wrong, birria tacos, whatever that's popular here in town. I can't say it right, and he's embarrassed when I order his birria tacos, whatever. I can't say it right. My wife's told me, AJ's told me, Anna's told me, and yeah, I'll just blame my Colorado education for that. Here. But in the news, the bigger news. We kind of suspected this. I know Royce has kind of hinted about it with Jorge being around the Spurs game, but they officially re-signed Jorge Hernandez to a new 2-year, to a multi-year contract. I guess I shouldn't say 2-year because I don't know if it's 2 years. To a new multi-year contract pending league and federation approval. And of course, policies or terms and conditions were not disclosed. From the missing in action or visibly missing in action sporting director Marco Ferruzzi, we're thrilled to keep Jorge in the SAFC family. He has consistently performed as a top playmaker in our league and is coveted by clubs inside and outside of inside and outside the USL. His talent and professional work ethic is the standard for us and is a representative for our club's ambitions. We have high ambitions for Jorge, as he does, and we look forward to having him on the field. He is a 3-time all-league first-timer. This is his 3rd season in San Antonio. He is the all-time assist leader as well. I think he led the league with 83 chances created, 9 assists, and was the only first team all USL on a team that did not make the playoffs. So, Jonathan, your thoughts on the Wizard returning?
Yeah, I know there was some discussion of, he's showing up at Spurs games. I think that was technically still in November when you say, okay, well, he's technically still under contract. Maybe he's just enjoying the perks of that, or something there. But so I was maybe a little skeptical of how willing he might be to return until there's a new head coach. But evidently he likes it enough here, or SAFC made him a good enough offer. A multi-year contract is nice to have that security, I'm sure. And this is one of those situations where if you can, maybe you do more than even just 2 years, because I can't see, Hernandez is still 24. He's still got plenty of career ahead of him. It's not like I can see him dropping off or anything. So if you can lock him down for more than even just 2 years, that would be great. But I think it's really smart for SAFC if you want to build around someone. Someone like Jorge, arguably the best playmaker in the league, has shown it over the last couple of years. Even this past year when SAFC was not doing much offensively, he was still creating chances. He still was up there even in assists, and probably could have led the league in that respect if there had been some better finishing. So I think it's also really enticing for SAFC as they try to get some of those other attacking players back. They already have Agudelo, Lacava. They're the only 2, I'm pretty sure. But if you're trying to attract some of the other great forwards in the league, having Jorge Hernandez is a pretty enticing carrot, because you can say, listen, he will put these chances in front of you. If you're able to bury them, it's a match made in heaven. So just
I'll say this, and this might be something that if we do have a show with the full team on Sunday here, I think, and I know Rafa's kind of hinted at this as well here, is, and they even kind of hint it here where they say he has consistently performed as a top playmaker in our league and is coveted by clubs inside and outside the USL. To me, I think part of the reason why they re-signed him is that way, if they get the ability or if they get the right offer to be able to transfer him, kind of like what they did Patino, although hopefully it's not right at the start of the season, but that it could possibly be one of those type situations where if Jorge does get an offer, that SAFC can't pass for that here. So I do think from that aspect, it's extremely smart for that here, where it wouldn't shock me if he got transferred for that here. Now, I don't think he goes to another USL team, but it wouldn't shock me if he got moved up or, went overseas or to Mexico along those lines. But this gives SAFC the flexibility to be able to control and to control that a little bit, as opposed to losing him on a free and him going somewhere else. So to me, just, I don't want to be a little Debbie Downer, but just kind of keep that in mind with Jorge Hernandez for that here. It's great that they re-signed him, but this may not be the last time we hear news about Jorge this year, because like I said here, he could move later on in the year during the summer window for that here. So other moves for that here, Maxi Rodriguez, SanAntonio FC, or former SanAntonio FC, local San Antonio kid, to Rhode Island. Ronaldo Damas to Legion. Interesting, it's a loan, but with the club option for Birmingham to buy. Bruno Rendon, League One Defender of the Year out of Northern Colorado, who didn't fold, but folded, I guess you could kind of say. They are no longer in USL, signed with Indy. And as I mentioned the last time here, if you go to USL Tactics, John Morrissey, he's got a good roster tracker where you can kind of check things. He hasn't updated everything here, but other big signings: Golazo re-signed in Tampa. Rodrigo Lopez, re-signed with Sacramento is a big one. Both goalkeepers for New Mexico stayed, I saw as well here. For you, Jonathan, I know you're mainly SAFC, but any of these stand out to you, especially with Legion rumored to be moving to the West if they do two conferences, so he may still stay in the West for moving from Colorado. But your thoughts on Maxi, Damas, Bruno, or anybody else that you want to highlight that's moved, that's caught on your radar?
I mean, personally, I know money talks, but I was a little surprised to see Maxi Rodriguez not staying in Detroit. It seemed like, he had joined them in, I think, the Nisa days and had been pretty much part of the fabric of that club coming up over the last sort of 5 years. So I thought he might just be pretty much seeing out his career there. Any contract they put in front of him, he'll say, yeah, sure. But as it turns out, he decided to make the move to Rhode Island, a team that obviously had a great end to their, well, the final match didn't exactly go their way, but for an expansion
had
team,
a great season,
to make the USL Championship final, to go on that run after kind of a sluggish start, showed their potential. And when you add someone like Maxi Rodriguez, someone who's been making all league teams and stuff, that's only going to make them stronger. That's really going to make them a force, at least in the short term, in the East, you would think, as long as they're able to retain much of what they already had that led them to so much success. As far as the Ronaldo Damas news, maybe that is an interesting option for them to buy. I mean, I wonder if he had those kinds of options at other loans he's had before. And it's also just interesting because I don't know exactly what all of his contract statuses have been, but I think he was under contract at Orange County and then moved over to a European club,
Mm-hmm.
possibly got loaned back or maybe
Did get loaned
transferred
back, yeah.
back.
No, got
So
loaned
he's
back.
kind of so he's kind of bounced back and forth between a few USL clubs and a couple European clubs. So I don't know. It's a little weird to see, but he's shown that he's a great forward wherever he lands. At least here stateside,
At the
he's
USL
done a
level.
job for a number of teams now. So good for Birmingham. You maybe, if you're SAFC and all the teams in the West, you maybe hope that Legion doesn't move to the West quite yet, or that maybe the league surprises us and gives us another team moving over. But if you got to balance the conferences and Legion move to the West, that's 2 times a year that you have to deal with Ronaldo Thomas, at least, and potentially also in the playoffs. And who knows, maybe in the Open Cup or Jägermeister Cup, maybe. I don't know.
The Jägermeister
So
Cup, is something that is rumored to be coming out and supposed to be announced relatively soon. I've heard whispers of for that here. I'm interested. For me, and this wasn't on the topic list here, but I'm interested to kind of see how that would work in the schedule because they already promised 17 games, and if you're doing, so it'll be interesting how they split that up because. For those that don't know, the Jägermeister Cup was supposed to be USL Championship and USL League One. This year it was only League One for that here, which Northern Colorado won actually, and that's part of the a lawsuit between Northern Colorado and USL, but USL didn't pay them because Colorado wasn't playing the players and USL was, so some legalities with that. But supposedly that's supposed to be coming for USL Championship and League One, so it'll be interesting. And that I've heard the USL schedule, like last year, I think came out mid-December-ish, end of December-ish. I've heard it'll come out in January. At the last whispers that I've heard for that here. And the final topic here, so we can get out here relatively quick here. Former SanAntonio FC, former St. Louis City, former Philadelphia Union striker SanAntonio makes the move to Austria's LASK Linz. What I found interesting, this is from the Philly Sports Network .com here, is they actually have a quote from the manager, Marcus Schlopp. Says, even though the signing was already finalized before I took office, I'm very happy with the transfer. He brings with him an extremely exciting profile and can add further important attributes to our game with his strengths and physique. So kind of interesting that a transfer was done with the new manager for that here, but good luck to Sam. Like I said, I know he wanted to go to Europe last year where he had offers through St. Louis City. But they would not. Unfortunately, they had injuries, so they didn't release him, and he basically fell out of favor there. Moved to Union to try to help save them to go to the playoffs. Didn't make it for there. It failed to score and just registered 1 assist for that here. So good for Big Sam. Exciting news for him. For that here. So any thoughts on Big Sam making the move over to Europe?
nice to see him escaping the chaos of MLS, I suppose. I'm sure some people probably would have hoped to see him back with SAFC again, but third time, I don't know how much value he'd get out of that. His career it should be better than a second division American team. I'm sorry. As well as he does at this level, that shows you that he deserves to be playing in bigger on bigger stages. So good for him.
It'll be interesting. Like I said, I know he wanted to get back to Europe, and he did for that here. So I'm excited to see it. Former SanAntonio FC player, hopefully having lots of success over there. So San Antonio's at 10. As Jonathan mentioned, if you do a show, sometimes it'll create more news the next day. We'll see if that happens, or I have a feeling it'll be next week for that, because this time of year they try to go a little bit slower. But standing at 10 players, all returning for that. No new additions yet. No new coach. So it's hard to know kind of formations and discuss along those lines for that here. We may have a show on Sunday just to kind of talk just in general with the guys, go in a little bit more detail, but I am trying to make more of an effort when we do have these announcements to at least get something on the tape for it here, 15, 20 minutes or so along those lines. Keep it under 30 for sure. Jonathan, any final words from you, or any final thoughts?
I guess just building off of that, I'll remind everyone, if you didn't see our last show, or if you don't remember, December 9th, 2019 was the last time SAFC announced a head coach. If that were this year, the 5-year anniversary of that will be next Monday. So keep your eyes out. If we follow that same trend, even if it's not that exact day, you've got to announce a head coach at some point here. Darren Powell was obviously announced into the new year, but those were exceptional circumstances when you're.
But it was a couple of weeks after they
December.
announced the team.
Yeah, like everything was kind of fast tracked and maybe pushed back a bit there. So you can't really use that as a benchmark. So hopefully, at the very least, a coach is announced soon, or maybe a few other players, but a coach especially, because I'm sure you, Harry, and I'm sure a lot of people in the SAFC fan base are feeling a little anxious, a little nervous. Regardless of players being signed, you want someone under contract who's going to be able to bring it all together, someone where you can start saying, okay, this is the vision, this is what's going on, rather than, okay, well, these are the players, here's how they might fit together. Who knows how a coach would do it specifically, what kind of adjustments and tweaks they would make.
I think for me, if Marco's not going to step and be the voice of the team, I'm hoping that the new coach will kind of help fill that void, because I do think that that's one of the biggest things that's missing for San Antonio FC is just that vocal leader that doesn't have to tell you everything, but it would be nice to know kind of what direction that the team wants to go towards, just in general. Like with the Spurs, what they're trying to do. They come out, they don't go into a lot of details, but at the macro level, they say, hey, this is what we're trying to accomplish, and you can kind of see it, and you can agree or disagree with it, whether it's working or not. And if you follow Spurs Twitter, it's all over the place, 10 times worse than San Antonio FC Twitter. I think that's, to me, the biggest thing on why the coach is important right now is, number one, it's going to give stability to the organization. It's going to be able to turn the page from Coach Marcina from that here. And Coach Marcina did not get the Lexington job. So, as well. So that's, to me, was kind of a surprise. Did not hook back up with Coach Powell. But there's still a lot of openings. Sacramento, New Mexico, San Antonio, still open. Obviously, New Mexico is a little bit later just because Eric Quill moving to FC Dallas for that here. So Sacramento still hasn't got a coach. We don't have a coach. We're probably the two big ones, I think, that are still out there. And it might be just waiting to see where Briggs lands, or where the Northern head coach lands as well. So I'm assuming when one drops, the other will follow very shortly after that. But Jonathan, thanks for hopping on. Roy, sorry we missed you. I know this was kind of a 6 o'clock. Hey, we got news. Do we want to hop on real quick? Jonathan was nice enough to do that, so thank you, Jonathan. What's life without goals? We're out of here, and be safe, everybody, and hope everybody has a great weekend. And we'll see you either Sunday or sometime next week.